We've got First Vice President and Chairman of the Resolutions Committee, Shane Wiseman, with us on this edition of Farm to Frankfort. Shane, it's great to have you back with us. It's your second time on the show. We're leading into the second year of Resolutions Committee, but we'll just kick it off. Tell us a little bit about yourself. It's been about a year since you've joined us. I'd like to hear what's going on at your farming operation with your family.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me back, Kyle. I'm on a beef cattle and small grain farm. We raise just a few soybeans, about 300 acres of soybeans, mostly cow-calf operation. My son's running the operation now that I've got elected to this position, my oldest son, Marcus. And we have fall calvers and spring calvers. So my fall calvers are just starting to calve. We've had about 35 or 40 here in the last couple of weeks, so just getting that rolling. But that's pretty much the whole operation. We put up our own hay, and we do a little bit of custom work for square baling and things like that. But mostly it's just cow-calf operations, our main interest.
Yeah. Did you get all your spring calves sold?
I did get all the spring calves sold at a very good price, too. We was tickled to death.
That's why he's smiling so much today. It's because of the price of cattle right now. You know, those soybeans, he kind of bushed over that pretty quick, didn't he? So the cattle thing's good now.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's hope it stays that way, right?
Exactly. It's high time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we kicked it off with, this is your second year as Chairman of Resolutions.
Yes, sir.
You know, your first year was a very busy year. Had a record number sent in. You can talk a little bit about your first year as chairman?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never served on the Resolutions Committee, but I tell you, when I got in there, it was an eye-opening experience. It was great, and like Kyle said, we had a record number. We had like 987. I'm hoping this year we can break 1,000. That's the goal here. So set another record this year, but you know, I thought it was very interesting to see where they came from all over the state. And you know, our policies are we're a grassroots organization, Farm Bureau is, and our policies are our backbone. So I mean, this is one of the most important things I feel like that, as far as my role as first vice president, that I get the opportunity to be involved with. So you know, I look forward to this year doing the same thing again.
Me too. Eddie, you chaired that committee for many years.
I did.
I think something we've always been very proud of, and I think the General Assembly takes notice of, is we've always had participation from all 120 counties. How important is that? You know,
it's just, we want to hear from everybody. I mean, we want to hear from all of our members, and especially our county farm bureaus and advisory committees, and all those are so important to what we do. And I often talk about one thing that always gave me satisfaction is that I saw someone send an idea up to us as an organization and introduce it, send it in as a resolution. It goes through the process. We put it in our policy book. Then you go lobby for it on the state level, or Erica goes on the national level, and see that come to fruition, and something that our members wanted that maybe started at a county farm bureau meeting and go through our whole process and then become something into a law that actually helps everybody in agriculture. And that's what our organization is about, and that's why this resolutions process is so important, that county farm bureaus and advisory committees actually sit down, take time and talk about these things, about what's happening on their farm and what's important to them right now, and what can we do to help.
Yeah, and I think the General Assembly also takes notice of that we're vetting these. When I say we, I mean our membership, our volunteer leaders. They don't just come to the three of us up here and make a decision, like you say. I mean, it's a resolutions committee at the county level, then the county at the annual meeting, and
that's right,
on up to the state resolutions, and then ultimately to the full voting delegate on Friday at our annual meeting. And I think that people do notice and recognize that these policies are vetted many times before they get into that policy book, and I think that's an important thing.
I do too.
And you know, one of the things that I liked about doing the resolutions is you think that you know what the issues are because you're in the area that you're in, but it's not that way. There's so many resolutions that came in that was just unique to certain counties and the issues that they were facing that I would have never known about if they hadn't sent it in. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's very important.
I always find that's very interesting to me too. Is we're getting them in right now. County annual meetings are happening. We've gotten several in, and we're kind of placing those where they go in the policy book, and just seeing how different regions, every single year, it's a different issue in a different region. But I think that's interesting too. And it's also advisory committee time.
Yes,
so
sir.
September We're probably halfway, maybe a little less than halfway with advisory committees, but recently we've had a couple advisory committees meet, and I know both you all were there at each of them, but we'll start with the Beef Advisory Committee. Shane, you chaired that committee for many years.
I did.
Before coming into this role. You want to talk a little bit about what was discussed at the Beef Advisory Committee?
Yes, they had a lot of good discussion about a lot of things. One of the issues that's been coming up for several years is the lack of veterinarians willing to do large animal, and that continues to be a problem. It seems like it's going to be a growing issue. What's going to happen there? And also there was a whole lot of talk about that new world screwworm issue. You know, it's not here yet, but they say that it's coming. It's just a matter of time. It's not if it gets here, but when. There was a lot of discussion on that and what needs to be done there. And I know you've talked to some people, you know, some legislation's been done in Washington about getting some funding to build a new facility and things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know a lot more about that than I do. So
yeah, there was recently an announcement, Eddie, where they are going to. It won't be a quick process, but they are building a facility.
Sterile fly facility is what it is. Yeah, that's an important thing that it does that, and once they can release those sterile flies, then that life cycle, it will take them out of that life cycle. So hopefully we can get that implemented, get it built, and get it implemented so that we don't get that here. It's not only going to be detrimental to the livestock industry or the cattle industry, but also to a lot of the wildlife that's out there that it can affect. So it has a lot of ramifications if it gets here.
Yeah, and I'd say many folks that were farming in the 80s and 90s, I believe we've had a similar variant before.
right.
And I think they estimated it cost in the billions in the loss. So that is an important step in the right direction to build that sterile fly facility that will combat the New World screwworm. So hopefully that gets online quick, and we'll keep working with the federal administration on that issue.
Absolutely, because we just talked about how good the cattle market is. I'd hate to see something happen, you know, to mess that up if we can keep it going like it's going.
Yeah. And the other issue we hear a lot about, Eddie, farm labor.
Everywhere we go.
And the Farm Labor Advisory Committee met. I know you were able to attend that. You want to talk a little bit about what their discussion was?
Well, you know, that committee, I really appreciate that. It's a lot of younger guys that are younger farmers that have come into that committee that we've got on there. And, you know, as they've expanded their operations, getting somewhat out of tobacco, maybe still raising some tobacco, but transitioning to some vegetables and production and some of those things. And, of course, the H-2A program, we've talked about that for years and years, about things that they have to comply with and what they have to do and what are their rights and along things with that. So had a great meeting, and of course we got John Walt Boatwright came in from American Farm Bureau. John Walt is an amazing individual that has worked this issue in Washington, D.C. for a number of years for American Farm Bureau. And it's, you know, we laugh about it. It's an age-old issue that we've been working on as long as I've been around Farm Bureau in the last 20 years or so. And it's still some of the same conversations. And so we keep trying to do those reforms and see what we can do to make labor out on our farms better for us, and to where that as they want to expand their operations and grow, which is what we've said we wanted them to do, you know, that they're able to do that and can get that labor force that they need.
Yeah, and I think for anyone who's wanting to know more kind of about John Walt that you mentioned, he's a great asset to have in Washington for American Farm Bureau. We were able to have him on the show live when we were in Washington, D.C., and you and Erica and myself, I was kind of just a bystander on that one, but did a great job with John Walt, and I'd encourage anybody that's interested to look that up. It should be online, and just a little drop for that one. If you want some more information on farm labor and what John Walt's worked on, you can go find that. You know, not just with our advisory committees and our county farm bureaus, we're always working with our elected officials on what's already in our policy book.
Right.
And we're working with our appointed officials about what's already in that policy book. That goes year round. It's not just during session. And something, Eddie, we've worked a lot on this interim. And I know we're going to hear a lot about it during resolutions as well, Shane. It's been around wildlife damage to our crops.
Absolutely.
I know it's a big issue out in western Kentucky. And we've been working on that, and I just, I know we've had Commissioner Storm on here, but just wanted to kind of touch base because I also know you've attended the Grain Crops Committee and a few others where it was discussed. If you wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, it is an issue, and as we actually feed those wildlife out there, if you want to say it that way, but. I appreciate the Department of Fish and Wildlife and Commissioner Storm he actually came here and sat down with us and talked about issues about what you can do and what you can't do. And I think they're willing to work with us as producers. They've got laws that they have to go by. But I know that they are willing and able to come to a County Farm Bureau meeting or come out and visit with you on your farm to see that if you have issues, and then get those depredation permits if you need them and you want someone to be able to work with you on those farms to do that and to eliminate some of that problem. So they're willing to work, and I know they have programs with the Hunters for the Hungry and things like that at times. So all those things can come together and work together and help us all out.
Yeah, I agree, and that's another episode that we've done. Encourage folks to go watch that if they're interested, because I do think that he did lay out some of the KRS and some of the KARs and the laws and regs that force them or kind of lead them to do things the way they do it. But I do appreciate that relationship we have with him, and hopefully we can move in a direction that we're able to do some things to simplify some of the processes there as well to help our producers. And Shane, I know you've attended other meetings throughout the state, a lot of county annual meetings. It's that time of the year.
Right.
We'll kind of just finish and close up, Eddie, Shane, with any kind of things you're all hearing out there at the county annual meetings, separate of maybe what we've been discussing?
Really more of the same, a lot of different things going on in different counties, but more of the same with everything we've talked about. But the one thing, that I would encourage, and I've noticed at a lot of these county meetings, they're doing a lot better job about getting a lot of their elected officials there at their county meetings and at the annual meetings, just so they can see what all they've been doing and what's going on. So they're keeping in touch with their local government there at home, and so they're keeping up with all the issues and passing along things that they're concerned about to them, as well as elected officials telling them things that they can do to help them. So I think that's good, and I continue to encourage that among the counties.
That's a great point. That's part of our grassroots too, when the elected officials know that our constituents, they farm and they vote. I think that's the old tagline there, but great point there, Shane. Eddie, you got anything as we close? I can't not take the opportunity to talk about farmland transition. It's kind of been a hot topic for us for going on a year and a half now, and a lot of successes this year. We got some selling farmer tax credit updated in Frankfort, and appreciate those the folks up there, our legislators working on that and helping us update that. I know the Ag Committee Chair Myron Dossett championed that for us early on and got included into a bill there at the end on House Bill 7075. But I want to thank the legislature for stepping up and taking that on. And in the tag team, that, of course, Senator McConnell working with us is in a little over a year. After we went to visit with him on what we wanted to do on some federal legislation, and actually got some part of the language that he introduced into the reconciliation bill. And the first time there's ever been any capital gains relief, selling farmland to an active farmer and keeping it in production agriculture. So shout out to Senator McConnell again for work he's done for agriculture. And of course, we honored him at the ham breakfast this year. But again, he's been a champion for agriculture his whole time in the Senate. And but we're not finished yet. I told people at the ham breakfast we're not finished with that initiative. We actually have a meeting coming up here internally in the next couple of weeks about what we're going to do, what our next steps are going to be. And we're going to all sit down and talk about that. But I highly recommend that any of our membership out there that has ideas about another step that we can take, please reach out to any of us, especially me. We're willing to take this on. We're not finished yet. And to see what we can do to help keep this land, our prime farmland. We've got to try to protect that and keep it in agriculture, and that's what we're working toward. Yeah, we'll keep working on that issue, and it wouldn't be possible without that grassroots membership that we always talk about. So encourage everybody out there in the counties to keep pushing, keep reminding their legislators at the local, state, and national level for the need to protect and preserve prime farmland. So,
absolutely.
With that, Shane, I know we've got at least another month and a half, but November 5th will be here soon.
Before we know it.
And that's when we'll kick off resolutions, and I hope you're right. And we go through about 1,000 of them from all 120 counties and roughly 24 advisory committees. But it's an exciting time of the year and looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.